Gender is everything. There are moments when thoughts arrive unbidden, as if carried by currents we cannot trace. I don't always know where they come from, nor why they insist on appearing in awareness, and yet it's become clear that we don't need to engage or validate them at all. Sometimes it's enough to acknowledge their presence and just let them pass. It's enough to rest in the mystery of not knowing. What I do know is this: a desire for different thoughts that reflect a new outcome, can arise. Our tools are intention, awareness, and eloquence. With these, we turn to the seventh Hermetic principle, the principle of gender. The Kybalion, a text published in 1908 and attributed to the three initiates, describes 7 principles of Hermetic philosophy. The final of these is the principle of gender, which declares gender is everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This teaching doesn't refer merely to biological sex. Instead, it speaks of universal forces, masculine as active, projective, expressive, feminine as receptive, nurturing, creative. These energies exist in all aspects of life, in thought, in spirit, in matter. They are not opposites in conflict, but complementary aspects of a single whole. True creativity and balance arise when these forces are harmonized. Within the human mind, the masculine principle is the conscience directive force. It sets intention, defines purpose, and projects ideas outward. The feminine principle is the subconscious, the fertile ground where impressions are received, gestated, and brought into manifestation. In the rhythm of breath, we can notice this dance: inhale as receptive, exhale as active. The inhalation draws in inspiration, peace, light. The exhalation gives form, action, and expression. Breath itself becomes a living metaphor for the interplay of gendered energies. We may not know where thoughts originate, but we can choose which ones to cultivate. The masculine mind plants the seed of intention. The feminine mind nurtures it until it grows into lived reality. This is the alchemy of inner creation. The principle of gender extends beyond the individual. In every act of creativity, there is the idea and the execution, the vision and the realization. In societies, teams, and communities, dynamics fold through the balance of these energies. A group that only projects without listening becomes rigid, domineering. A group that only receives without acting becomes stagnant and passive. But when masculine and feminine principles are balanced, assertion with compassion, logic with intuition, structure with creativity, then harmony emerges. Even in science and philosophy, we see this interplay. Rational analysis, masculine, must be paired with imaginative insight, feminine, to produce breakthroughs. In art technique, masculine must meet inspiration, feminine, in order to create beauty. The world itself is sustained by this dance. In meditation, we can become the observer of this rhythm, visualizing the inhalation as feminine, receiving inspiration, light, and peace, visualizing the exhalation as a masculine, giving form, purpose, action to the world. This practice is not about controlling the breath, but about recognizing its symbolic power. Each cycle reminds us that life itself is a balance of receiving and giving, of nurturing and expressing. To live consciously is to honor both principles, allowing them to flow without resistance. Sometimes knowledge arrives without origin. I cannot trace its source, nor explain why it becomes known. Perhaps it is memory, perhaps intuition, perhaps something beyond, but it's clear we don't need to validate every thought. It's enough to choose which thoughts we will cultivate. The principle of gender teaches that creation begins with intention. The masculine mind sets the direction. The feminine mind nurtures the seed. Together, they manifest new realities. If we want different outcomes, we must invite different thoughts. Our tools, intention, awareness, and eloquence are the instruments of this transformation. Across cultures and traditions, echoes of this principle appear. In Taoism, yin and yang embody receptive and active forces. In Hindu philosophy, Shakti and Shiva represent creative energy and consciousness. In psychology, Carl Jung spoke of anima and animus, the feminine and masculine aspects within each psyche. These parallels remind us that the principle of gender is not confined to one text or tradition. It is a universal truth. Life is sustained by the interplay of complementary forces. To deny one is to live in imbalance. To honor both is to live in wholeness. Returning to the breath, inhale. Receive. Exhale. Give. Inhale. Nurture. Exhale. Act. We don't need to know where thoughts come from. We don't need to trace their origin. What matters is the choice we make right now, today. We can choose thoughts that reflect a new outcome. We can choose balance between masculine and feminine. We can choose to live with intention, awareness, and eloquence. The principle of gender reminds us, gender is everything. It is the rhythm of creation, the pulse of thought, the dance of life. To honor it is to honor the wholeness of existence.